Page 417. Truly, the very realization of a great developmental change to the good and better is already in you, if you become conscious that you have cast off everything that is old, valueless, and unsuitable, and through that have won very much more energy and power, by means of which there is no longer any fear in you whatsoever of committing errors, which you inevitably must commit, since it is only out of these that you can learn. The very fact alone that you no longer have any fear of acting rightly or wrongly creates a lot of energy and power in you, and this alone already represents a developmental change in you. Truly, you human beings of Earth, you require a huge amount of energy and power in order to lead your lives. But you waste a very great part of this power and energy through your anxieties and through your fear. However, if you turn to the real truth, and through this dissipate your anxieties and fear, as well as all the terrible things in yourselves consciously through intellect and rationality, then you will create new energy and power through this, which independently brings forth a radical inner upheaval and actual developmental change. However, always be conscious that you are left up to yourselves in all these things and endeavors of the inner developmental change. Because if you are serious about your inner developmental change, as well as all the things that are connected with it, then truly in this process of the serious inner developmental change, the status is given that you are actually alone with yourselves as human beings. In the process of your inner developmental change, you cannot expect help from any god or tin god, or from any human being, or from anything else, because apart from yourselves there is nothing that could carry out your inner change. If, however, you consciously carry out your inner developmental change through your energy and power, then you will no longer expect help from outside, from anyone, from any god, tin god, angel, saint, or demon, or from the deceased, because in the conscious developmental change that you bring about in yourselves, you are already free in yourselves and are able to see what your developmental change brings you in terms of that which is good, better, and positive. And consider, when you are free in yourselves, that there is also great energy and power in you, besides the fact that nothing else can be done wrong with regard to the developmental change of the inner nature. And once there is freedom in you, then this has nothing to do with a defense, but rather with you being able to act rightly and freely henceforth according to your own discretion, precisely because you are free in yourselves and act out of the center of your changed inner nature, and therefore you no longer have any anxiety and fear, but are henceforth capable of creating true love in yourselves, and also living it out in yourselves to your fellow human beings. Because when you have true love in you, then you can do in the right and the good what you want. And if you have created true love in yourselves, then out of this the process arises that you get to know yourselves, and that you go in self-cognition in yourselves, which, however, in turn only happens through yourselves, but not through psychologists or psychiatrists, and not either through any other analysts, through philosophers, or those who arrogantly assume that they can be of assistance to you in the self-cognition, although they are not capable of this. Therefore, you truly do not learn anything through them, and you cannot learn anything about yourself, but basically only about the one who wants to be helpful to you in the self-cognition. Truly, what your fellow human beings such as psychologists and philosophers, etc., can teach you is not what you are in yourselves, in your inner nature, i.e., in your individuality. Rather, they can only teach you your characteristics, your peculiarities that proceed out of your inner nature, but not, however, the individuality, the specialness and uniqueness, which go very far beyond the characteristics and are connected to the innermost part of the inner nature, which is of pure spiritual nature and belongs to the realm of the spirit form, in which the true love and the life are guided from out of the creational laws and recommendations. Therefore, self-cognition is not the same as self-cognition, and individuality is not the same as individuality, because truthfully both things must be separated in themselves. Indeed, on the one side, in the material realm, which is outwardly expressed in you human beings, and that realm which only acts in the inner, so therefore it is necessary to speak of a material and outwardly directed self-cognition and individuality, and on the other side, of an inner one, which really only acts through the power of the spirit form in the inner of the nature, and must be laboriously fathomed out in order to let it have an effect in the exterior, material self-cognition and individuality, fragment by fragment, gradually, over the course of the life, as a result of which your being human in the real and true sense evolves over time. It is only through inner self-cognition, which must be fathomed in the core of your inner nature, that you experience and learn what you actually are in the inner of your own self, which is connected with the spirit realm, whereas that which is around the core corresponds to that part of the inner nature which is lived as individuality towards the outside, and reflects the material character and the personality, out of which the behavior and the actions and effort are also determined. In the entire process, you must also look at and consider and bring forth a revolution of the consciousness, its thoughts as well as their feelings, and the thereout resulting psyche structure, which may no longer be dependent on an external authority. However, this process involves great difficulties, because what is important in the revolutionizing of the consciousness, thoughts, feelings, and the psyche, i.e., the entire mental block, is repudiating your own inner and demolished authority, in which are anchored all your unimportant perceptions, cognitions, cognizances, your pseudo-knowledge, your practical experiences, and the living of those experiences, as well as your views, ideas, and ideals. Truly, during your lifetime, you had things, happenings, and experiences that have taught you something, but you have raised up all that which you have learned to a new authority in you, by which you are ruled, and which has just as great a destructive effect in you as an authority which is already thousands of years old. Truly, if you want to understand yourselves, both in your innermost spiritual individuality and in your outward material individuality, then you require neither the authority that you have built up in yourselves during your lifetime, nor that which is thousands of years old, because you are something vital, which is in continuous movement and knows no rest. Therefore you must not look at yourselves and attempt to fathom yourselves with the dead authority of your up till now life. Rather, you must look at yourselves with the newly created authority, because only through this is it possible for you really to understand everything that lies in the movement and the beauty of the whole. you human beings of Earth. You must be free from any external authority and create your own free and good authority in yourselves. Therefore, you must also be free from your own old and inadequate authority, which you have confusingly and erroneously built up in yourselves during your life. You have to make yourselves free and loosen yourselves from everything that was in your past with regard to your false individuality, because only in this wise do you manage that your mental block, your consciousness, your thoughts and feelings, as well as your psyche, are full of energy and power at all times, are in youthfulness, and nevertheless shining in wisdom, as well as innocent and full of interest. Truly, it is only in this status that you can be really attentive and heedful, and you can really perceive, observe, and recognize everything, and learn thereout. Consider that you, human beings of Earth, primarily require a conscious and comprehensive consciousness, so that you are capable of directly being aware of your inner and innermost life process, and can direct it in such a wise that you do not need to correct it continuously, so that you make progress, and the whole is what it shall be, but not what it shall not be. If you constantly have to correct your life process, then you are imposing a censor, which is nothing other than again a new authority which once again dictates new things to you which you follow, and through which you are again and again wrongly guided. If you really want to learn, then you must start a long journey in yourselves through your entire nature, through its shell and inner, and through its core, and also through your entire mental block and consciousness block, in which case the consciousness, thoughts, and feelings are of just as much importance as are the character and personality. And for this journey, you must be unweighted, without opinions and prejudices, as well as unburdened through thoughts and feelings and all the rubbish which has built up in you since time immemorial and has burdened you. Forget everything that you yourselves have assumed and thought to know about yourselves, and attempt to recognize yourselves in the wise as if you had never seen yourselves before, and never heard anything about yourselves previously, so that you approach yourselves in a totally neutral wise, and fathom out what and who you truthfully are.